Hey everybody, Tuesday 3 o'clock, keeping our commitment. Just wanted to say hello to everybody. Hoping everybody can join in. Appreciate the number of spots where my partner Chris Sost has stepped in to cover, so we can make sure and bring the live video to you each week without skipping a beat. So a couple interesting things going on. Actually, there's quite a bit of interesting movement taking place right now at UZURV, and I'll share as much as I can of the one that we're working on pretty actively right now. And I'm going to speak in terms of some ambiguity, but just to let you know kind of behind the scenes some of the capability of what UZURV will become in the future. So we just wrapped up a meeting today that sat down with a general manager of a particular hotel property. And that manager, we painted a picture of what UZURV can do for her business, running she's got a medium-sized hotel, very common as what you would find in any of the markets where UZURV currently operates, which is a medium-sized property, 3-4-story hotel, 150 to 200 rooms, not huge, not a big downtown full-service hotel with restaurants and everything, but more of the suburban outlying smaller properties, where they typically have maybe 1 or 2 guest staff. Maybe they have a complimentary breakfast area or something where they may have a few employees, but it's essentially a property where there's really one person, and they don't have any shuttle available for their guests. They're not necessarily right next to the most popular places where restaurants and malls and those types of things might be located. So they're a destination for travelers because they have a corporate flag on their building that makes them part of a network, that gets them a lot of business. I mean, this general manager is saying that her occupancy is above 80% year-round, even in the slow times. So I guess if you're over 80%, you don't really have slow times. So, and I'm bringing this video to you from the car, which, if you're a driver, this is where drivers feel the most comfortable. I can control my environment. Some of you saw what happened in the office a couple weeks back and the distractions and things like that. It's easier to just drive and talk, like we started this video log when we were on our nationwide tour. So anyway, getting back to the story about what we're working on. The general manager, we were able to tell her that with UZURV, your guests would be able to have what is, for all intents and purposes, a private car service available to them at any time from her hotel. And if you think about that, a lot of business travelers now are using Uber or Lyft. It's very common. They're getting away from rental cars, and they're definitely getting away from taxis. And not many customers rely on the hotel shuttle to get them around, but there is, a pretty decent sized demographic that does. But even the ones that do want to take the hotel shuttle, let's say they have a shuttle that seats 10 people. Well, if there's 2 groups of 8 that want to go to dinner at 2 separate restaurants, one group can go, and then the shuttle's got to come back, and the shuttle's got to pick up the second group and then take them, and there's that wait involved. This hotel doesn't have any services available for transportation, so people that come in from the airport either taxi or Uber out to this suburban hotel, or if they drive in from another area, that's one thing, but a lot of their travelers are flying in, flying out, and they don't have transportation while they're on the property, and the property doesn't offer a shuttle. Can you request Uber from there? Absolutely. But it is in a suburban area of town where there may not always be Uber available at short lead time, which means maybe upwards of 10 to 15 minutes to get an Uber out there. And even though it's not a not far from town. It's just not the place where drivers hang out because they don't get a lot of random business. So wait times on Uber and Lyft are extended. Early hours, this hotel is in the same situation that a lot of our UZURV clients are under, which is they live in the Uber or Lyft service area, but there's never any Uber available because they're outside of, you know, whether it be 15, 20 minutes, whatever the limit is in your city, they are unable to get Uber especially in the early morning to go to the airport. And we use that example over and over and over in a lot of our description of how we relay what UZURV is to other people. Is imagine not being able to get the Uber that you love or the Lyft that you love at that particular time that you really, really need it. And that's where UZURV comes in. Well, on the hospitality side with this particular hotel, we are now providing that general manager, whoa, lost the video there. We're providing that general manager the ability to offer her guests in a I don't want to say basic, but in a mid-range hotel that has no transportation services today. Essentially tomorrow she would be able to offer her guests a private level car service availability from that property, every single one. And large groups, you need 7 cars at one time, you need 10 cars at one time. Do you need 15 or 20 cars at the same exact time? You can reserve them all with UZURV, and we have created the ability for Ryder, which would be the hotel, to have a Ryder account that is able to create multiple reservations at the same time. We're calling it an events account, where an event coordinator or somebody running a large hotel ballroom or something like that, they would be able to book multiple reservations for independent separate drivers all at the same time, which right now the app will not let you, the Ryder app will not let you double book. It won't let you, and even as a driver, it won't let you accept more than one trip that would overlap with a buffer as well. So she was extremely excited. She has this vision of, you know what, now not only will I have the ability to request for my guests, right, is whether it be on their own device or on a device that we provide the hotel property, they would be able to request for their guests. So instead of calling a cab, right, that's the old process, right? For those of us that have been around a while, like myself, you know that, hey, can you call me a cab? Nobody wants to do that anymore. I can call myself an Uber, but you know what? I'm on business. I've got, you know, a bunch of friends with me, and we need 5 Ubers all at once, and my buddies either have Uber or they don't, or we just want to do one, whatever. But we're able to get all those cars out to that property at the same exact time. Now on the flip side, we say, you know what, maybe you don't want to hail someone an Uber or hail someone a Lyft or make someone a UZURV because you've only got one guest or one person staffing your desk and they're busy checking people in. Well, let's give them the referral cards and allow the hotel to refer their guests as a driver. Think about that. Generate revenue back to the hotel. What a thought. Not that it's finalized or not that we've put this in motion yet, but it's just an idea, right? So incentivize somebody to refer riders. How do we do that? Pay them. So it's just something that we're thinking about. If you knew in your city as a driver that you would have 15 to 20, 30, 50 rides a day coming out of one hotel property, would that be interesting to you? They'll all be scheduled in advance. They'll all be coming from hotel level customers. They're all going to be coming in the prime times, and potentially from the suburbs to the airport, from the suburbs to downtown, from the suburbs to the nice restaurants, from wherever this hotel is located to the places that travelers need to go. You know, she says, hey, we have a lot of sports teams that come in here because there's, you know, a large sports community in this part of town. And she says the majority of our large groups are sports teams and their coaches and their families. So you could have groups that are in the size of 100+ people, one group. They all want to go to dinner at the same place at the same time. Or they all want to go to the same game at the same place at the same time. And what are they all going to do? You know, request cabs, request taxis, contract a bus. Or you know what? The hotel can UZURV them 15 Uber XL or Lyft Plus vehicles to all come in, and each parent just use your Uber account and handle your own transportation to and from the event. So it creates some flexibility. We've got a long way to go. If you're watching this video and you have suggestions of how we can do this and how to make it better, and we're obviously working with our tech team to find out what can we do with the way the app works today. Doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to work 18 months from now, but the way it is today, can I offer our service, UZURV, to a general manager of a hotel that currently has nothing? And the answer is yes. And I look at drivers and go, hey drivers, this hotel, they don't offer any services. They would love to be able to refer Uber and Lyft for free. Do any of you drivers happen to have cards that maybe have your referral code on them that this hotel would be happy to pass out? Because not only can they make a UZURV request for their guests, but now they can give them their first ride on Uber free, or their first 10 rides on Lyft $5 off. Just thinking, if you're a driver, there's some interesting opportunities out there the way the app operates right now, to be able to go in there, talk to some of these general managers and say, hey, we're looking at it from a corporate level of dealing with large hotel management and chains and multiple properties, but each one of you has the opportunity to get to know the people in your town and drive out there to the Best Western, that sits way out of the way, and they have no transportation services out there. Go out there and explain to them what UZURV can do for them. And oh, by the way, here's a referral card for Uber. Here's a referral card for Lyft. Feel free to give your guests free rides. And I know a lot of you have probably already done it. You've probably blanketed every restaurant, hotel, event venue, everything in your towns. If you're very resourceful and you're serious about rideshare, I guarantee you've already done that. But I know the opportunities still exist because this general manager doesn't even have Uber on her phone. So she runs a hospitality business and does not have Uber on her phone, and she has no transportation services at her building. So opportunity, right? And so all we got to do is take a look at these opportunities and seize them. Exciting stuff. So that's just one example of some of the things that we're working on. We're working on looking at event venues, especially where they've got large groups of people, whether they be weddings or corporate events or large meetings. We had a huge Amway convention here in Richmond, Virginia this past weekend. Thousands of people all flew in for an Amway convention, and none of them had transportation, and a lot of them stayed far out of town because there were so many hotels sold out that they couldn't get the big prime hotels that were right near the event. They had to go to the outskirts. And we've got NASCAR here twice a year. Same thing happens. They'll sell out hotels for 50 miles away because they bring in 120,000 people for the weekend to watch the NASCAR event. So big opportunities. Look for these opportunities where transportation is needed and doesn't exist, and just capitalize on them if you can. So enough of that soapbox. I just want to share that with you, some of the things that we're doing. This is not just about one reservation for one person to get Uber, in advance at the time that they need it. This is much larger than that. So as we look at the event venues, I mentioned NASCAR, I mentioned those things. Let's talk about corporate. We've got large corporations that are based here in Richmond, Virginia. Here in Richmond, you could look at the list of companies that are Fortune 500 companies that have their home base in Virginia, and you'll see some impressive names on there. But our goal is for those corporate travel entities to be able to, whether it be on a mobile device or on a desktop device, open up their app, whether it be UZURV mobile or UZURV desktop web version, and be able to book directly, set up central billing, create reservations in advance for their team, and create an environment very similar to an OpenTable.com or Airbnb, or even Yelp 24/7. Some of these different things where people need to have access on multiple platforms, and we have slowed our development on WebTop while we work on a server migration. We need to make sure that our infrastructure is built for the future, and right now that's what our tech team, our development team, is focused on. Once that's done, you're going to definitely see a lot more functionality being pumped into the app of what we really want to see as the long-term capability of UZURV is, connecting two people that have a common need, right? That's where Uber started, but it was two people regarding transportation. And we definitely want to create that reservation experience, but what other avenues can we explore with that? And a lot of you have definitely voiced your concerns and your suggestions, through our communication vehicle in the app, which my #1 favorite, I tell everybody, is use the feedback option in the app menu, right? Because it captures your version number and it captures your email, and it lets us know who you are right away. If you just send in a post on Facebook, or you send in an email to support@uzurv.com and it comes from a different email address than what you signed up as a driver, it just extends the time in which we can get back to you. But suggestions, things that you either like, dislike, want to see, don't want to see, all those feedback opportunities regarding our product, which is UZURV and UZURV Driver, put them in the feedback option and send them in, because they're all tracked. They're all summarized. Our user experience team pulls the trends to look at what are the things that are causing the problems in people's usage of the app, and or what they like, what they don't like, what they want to see. And sometimes there are some very key things that are communicated that we really, really like. And Chase, who's the manager over user experience, he definitely wants to hit the home runs on the development items that he puts at the top of the list. So when we do that, we really appreciate your feedback, and we love to give credit to those of you that have definitely suggested those things. I'll tell you, those of you that have been with us since the beta period, you've already seen what those things are. One of the big ones that everybody was asking for was, can I refer from the app? I'm sick of giving my code verbally or on a piece of paper or on a business card. I want to just do it in the app. And you know what? The referral link has been there in the app for you guys to refer riders, and now we've got drivers saying, hey, I want to be able to refer drivers from the app. And you know what? That's something that we heard loud and clear, and we're going to start talking about it a little bit more. Is we really rushed to get the rider referral in the app, and we didn't really put a lot of emphasis on the driver side. So we need to go back and look at it, and I know Chase and his team are looking at it, and I know that it's on the radar of our executive team as well. So appreciate those of you that spoke up and said, hey, listen to me, I've got something to say, and it was definitely meaningful. So I'm going to go back here and see if I can look at these comments legally while I'm driving. Uh-oh, James says my AC is blowing into the mic. My goodness, how long has that been going on? If that's the case, I apologize, but if the window was never open, Mr. Lowell, but if it was air coming from the vent, sorry about that, guys. That was the first comment, so I apologize if that sound was causing a horrible video. So let's see. Jimmy, thanks for joining in. He says, is there a way to get an app to allow businesses a UZURV to have that? Yes. So in the situation of the hotel that we talked to today, we set the hotel up with an account, business account, as a rider, and they are able to create reservations as a rider for whoever they want at the hotel, and they can chat directly with the driver and say, this is such and such hotel, because it's obviously on the account, and the driver would see it as the name. But then they say, this is a reservation for Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones has Uber, or Mr. Jones has Lyft, and will be handling his own transportation. This is just the reservation for him, right? So the app does perform that way now, and so that's what we're working with. Same thing goes on the driver side. You know, if we decided that the only way right now that we can, with our back end server the way that it is, if in order to refer your referral code, in order for it to generate residual, has to be from a driver, then we can set the hotel up as a driver with a corporate account. This is all done on the back end, you know, manually by our team. And we'd at least be able to have an entity that is able to refer with a code that generates residual 7% referral rewards, which would be back to the hotel. Tanya says, would all those rides from the hotel be paid for on Uber by the hotel, or will the riders have to pay for the Uber rides? Well, it's really entirely up to the business that we're talking about. So knowing how everything works right now, if the hotel were to make the reservation, then that is handled between the hotel and UZURV, right? That's a transaction that's separate. Now the rider, the actual physical person that needs to get in the vehicle, yes, they would have to have Uber or Lyft in order to, you know, have transportation provided by that person. Now, if the person was a new user, yes, they have to have a smartphone, very important, and then yes, they would have to sign up for Uber, sign up for Lyft. Is it a process? Sure it is. But we would also educate the hotel staff on what it takes to get somebody signed up, and of course provide them with cards for free Uber or discounted or free Lyft rides, right? Because those are readily available. So if the customer doesn't have Uber, they can definitely get their first ride discounted, if not free. If the customer doesn't have Lyft, we know that that's the same situation. If the customer doesn't have a smartphone, then we know they're not an Uber user, and at that point it would be the discretion of the hotel whether or not they wanted to provide services above and beyond UZURV for that guest. All right, Uber has a client app, but that can't get anyone to say who pays for the rides. Okay. Well, when it comes to a ride pertains to transportation, and transportation is handled by a TNC, Uber or Lyft, and that transaction, you know, somebody would have to pay for it, yes. So that is, I guess, up to the property, up to the rider, and up to the person with the Uber app on their phone. All right, we could use this at local bars and campuses, absolutely. Have lots of suggestions for it to allow multiple reservations. Yes, we do allow multiple reservations, but it has to be an account set up through our events and corporate outreach department, which will make the call as to who the entity is on the account, how many they're able to do at a time, and after we've had that initial relationship building experience, we can determine what their needs are. All right. Let's see what we got here. I appreciate everybody joining in. I'm flipping through. Deva out in Lake Tahoe, welcome. Federico says, to get a hotel on board and almost get a definite business chain of transportation, it could be possible for UZURV itself to get a bus and make some major cash flow. Or we, UZURV, can maybe rent a bus when we know that a big event is happening in a garage a certain rate. Just my 2 cents. Now you're thinking like a true entrepreneur now, Federico. Or Frederico. Don't want to say your name wrong. Appreciate your feedback. The one thing that we are very, I want to say we are in unanimous decision on at UZURV is that we do not want to become a TNC. Okay, we do not want to invade our the space of TNC and everything that is required to run that operation. Right now down in Austin, Texas, you've got everyone wants to be a TNC and be the next latest and greatest person to go battle Uber and Lyft. We don't want in that cage match. We have decided that our space is unique. and we've, embarked on our journey, making sure that we have the largest impact on the reservation aspect of it. So right now we don't have any intention of acquiring any of our own vehicles or any of that. And it brings up an interesting point. In a lot of these markets where we are getting you guys set up with the UZURV decals on the cars, we've got a lot of people that are sending messages to support saying that they didn't have any idea that UZURV was going to have their own cars out there competing with them for Uber. And we're like, wait a minute, no, these are not company vehicles. These are you guys. These are drivers, independent contractor, Uber and Lyft rideshare TNC drivers that have seen what UZURV can do for your business and are willing to put our logo on the car. And yes, it works, and yes, it gets people talking, and yes, people see it, and yes, people are signing up. In every market where we've launched these logos and the headrest covers, and these promotions are coming to your markets soon. Apologize, I'm on a noisy road right now. They're repaving, it looks like. Those things are working, so people are seeing it. There's nobody out there competing against you that wasn't already competing against you for rideshare fares in the first place. So you're just seeing all the UZURV drivers now, which is actually, we love it. So hopefully ask that person where they got the logo and how can you get one for yourself, because that's the most important thing to building your business right now. Because the drivers, you guys saw the top 30 list that I posted for the month. I mean, there's drivers that are knocking down some serious numbers on the completed reservations and on the incentive side and on the referral reward side. So these payouts are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we're paying out several hundred drivers that made over $5 for the month, and there's a heck of a lot more that have between $0 and $5. And as soon as we get our cash out option built in, which is very close, you guys will be able to cash out those low amounts if you wish, or roll them over, all within the app, and no more of this driver payout mess happening. All right, Tanya says look for local event management. Yes, appreciate everybody jumping in. Jimmy says problem with speaking with hotels is they're going to want someone, an admin, to talk to. We're all independent business people, and there's no way of getting other people to help with large events. No problem. If you don't want to do it, we will do it. We'll tackle one hotel at a time. And we just have had a few conversations so far to start off how we're going to present that. But right now, remember, we're not here to sell UZURV. We're here to just inform people that it exists. And if it helps your business, great. If it helps your hotel, great. If it helps you as a rideshare driver, welcome to UZURV. All right, James said the AC noise went away at some point. Thank you for clarifying. Frederico, appreciate your comments. I'm going to keep moving on. Frederico and Jimmy, I'll go back and answer these longer comments once I get a chance to sit down and look at the actual Facebook video posts to make sure I cover all the comments with answers. Jimmy says, how can we get the account set up? Yeah, just shoot us an email at support@uzurv.com and we'll talk some more about it if you have a property in mind that needs some ideas of how to do it. So anyway, I'm not sure what time we got here. 3:29, it's been 30 minutes, and I know that Harold likes me to keep it to 20. So I've already gone over 10 minutes, and I just realized that I'm all the way out near the airport now. So interesting. I just drove halfway across Richmond while I was talking to you guys, not really paying attention to where I was going, just driving. So appreciate everybody joining in. Driver payout is coming up on the 7th, and those of you that are anyone who has a payout over $5 received an email yesterday that was a correction. It said, sorry, we screwed up. On the 1st, we sent you an email that was wrong. Go figure. And it mentioned Square Cash, and you all know how we've had problems with Square Cash, so we're not using them anymore. But for some reason, the automated email was set to go out on the 1st, and it went out. So problems of a startup company, right? Sometimes we forget that we pushed the button on something to happen automatically, and now we need to retract it. So we're retracting it. We're not using Square Cash. Payout is still on the 7th. You would have got the email last night that said, or yesterday that said, click on this link and update your address, which is now required. Required. If you do not have an address on file, you are not getting paid. Okay? Address is required, especially if you have a payout right now of $5 or more showing in your bank for the month of, and when I say in your bank screen in the app menu for the month of September, if it was $5 or more, including the referral rewards, which you are getting paid out for, whether it shows it's locked or not, you're getting that money. If that amount is more than $5, you need to go to click on that link in the email and update your address. If you don't update your address, I know you're going to email me next month and say, hey, I didn't get my payment. And I'm going to look, and if there's no address in there, that's how it happens. But anyway, everyone take responsibility, step up, we'll get you paid on time, promise. Appreciate you tuning in. Everybody have a great day.